is, because we're affected by so many channels every day, so much information, 1.3 is the channels you and I can handle at the same time, 5.4 with kids. So the reality is we cannot handle that over information, so we need to get around that. And the only way we can do that is to understand that generation instant gratification is a generation which we have to take serious, because that's you and me. But there's another thing to it, and that's the non-conscious part of the brain. Remember, 85% of everything we do every day appeals to the non-conscious part of the brain. And that basically means that you need to be aware of what signals you're sending, when and how and to who, and not leaving it to a coincidence. So what's the rule of thumb? The rule of thumb is you need to own at least 3 smashable components. At least 3. It doesn't mean that you're killing your logo, not necessarily. But you should develop communication so smart that I can remove the logo and still be recognized in everything you do. So take all your ads, remove the logo just for fun, and see, can I recognize who you are? You're just lost out there in cyberspace. But there's another thing to this. It actually may be that you own elements which you're not even aware of. Things you threw out, icons and pictures and sounds, which was your brand 10 years or 20 or 30 years ago, but it's because you changed management is thrown out. So go back in your archives and learn from the history and revitalize your brand, because what we urge for as consumers today is not the future, it's the past. I feel much more safe in the good old days. Everything was good in the good old days. The future is a little bit more nasty to think about. The more senses you appeal to, the more you remember a brand. In fact, if I appeal to 3 senses, you double the message and how it's stuck in your brain. So there is a clear synergy. But there's another thing too. Do you know what? I need to shake your hand. You've been very nice to me. I gave you my business card. I need to say thank you very much for that. Thank you. What do you think about my handshake? You can be very honest.
It's warm. It's
Did you
kindly.
kindly? Why are you so polite? I gave him a dead fish. Have you tried a dead fish? A dead fish, a little bit sweaty too, I'm sure. Now, I'm sure, how many of you would employ people which give you a dead fish in return, right? Okay. Now, in 2 or 3 seconds, you probably were thinking, what the heck is this? I expect another handshake, right? And then I get this dead fish. So in 2 or 3 seconds, you're evaluating me. Now, why do I tell you that? Because today, 83% of every brand in the world only appeals to one sense, the sense of sight. 17% only leaving to the 4 other senses. Yet you are evaluating me in 3 seconds based on a handshake. How many handshakes does your brand do? The packaging design, the flimsy smell, whatever it is. What we learned is that it really works. I did an experiment, and just be warned here for a second, okay? This is a hidden commercial from my book, so close your eyes now, okay? But we did an experiment with that book. I went into Barnes & Noble in the United States. I gave consumers 2 options, or rather the staff. I said to the staff, hey, you can either choose to give that biology by just pointing at it, say, that's a book, buy it, to the customer. Or you could choose to take the book down the shelf and give it to the customer and make sure he holds it or she holds it for at least 12 seconds. Which one do you think was selling the better? The last one, 60% more. Because the tactile sensation is another memory encoding in our brain. The senses have an enormous information load on our brain. We did an experiment with sound and vision, and when we play those 2 aspects separately, they really don't work. But when we play them at the same time, show people a picture and play the sound at the same time, we have this amazing synergy. So 2 plus 2 is not even 5, it's probably 7. How many of you are using branded sound on your website? I'm not thinking about a whole nightclub, right? I'm thinking about just a twist to make people go into the right mood. Or do you just assume that sound, why the heck use that? We learned that sound plus vision activates the reward centers in our brain. So much so that people get hungry when they listen to this special music we created for a restaurant chain in the United States. Ladies, just so you know, we get 29% more hungry when you are listening to that music. Would you like me to play it again? Oh, fair enough. But we also did another experiment. We wanted to find out how powerful are sounds. Do you want to help me for a second? I'm going to play a sound here. And as soon as you think you know who that is, raise your hand very quickly. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Gee, well, you don't like Rocky at all, do you? Okay, let me try another one. I'm going to play one beat and then see if you can recognize who is this. Ready? Here it comes. Can I do the same with your brand? Can I play 2 seconds or 1 second, a smashable component, as I call it, of your brand? And then I know who that is. Or is this just something we haven't thought about somehow? Because that's my message. Sound plus vision activates attention and memory. Most of you have not seen Jaws or Rocky for many years. You still remember it, not just because of the storyline, but because the sound is branded. Sound plus vision also generates emotional engagement. But there's one thing which I find fascinating. It's also generating a consumer preference. Amazing. Do you think about any particular country or city in the world right now? Just any, just name any. Oh, clever man, Paris. You want to come with me to Champs-Élysées and we'll have a croissant and a cup of coffee. In fact, we played that sound in a retail store. It was an experiment. We exposed consumer for wine and music at the same time. People first had the choices of French wine. And then they had the choices of German wine. Now, then we played the French music. And what was fascinating was that people loved the French wine suddenly. In fact, they chose it 77% more than the German wine. We asked them why. They said, I have no idea. I just feel like I'm in a French mood. But when we changed it to the German music, the whole thing swapped around. And 69% preferred the German wine. Because this is not a matter about rational thinking. It's a non-conscious signal which we're associating with this whole way of building brands. When you build brands in the future, there's 8 points I would recommend you to look into. First of all, do you appeal to the non-conscious part of the brain at all? And I put in a sliding scale up there, so if you really appeal to it well done. But probably most of you are not. Secondly, do you multitask? Can you appeal to multitaskers? Third, do you have a green and a blue script? Fourth, can I smash your brand? And what smashable components do you own? What is your sensory branding strategy? What's your somatic marker? And most importantly, what is your emotional strategy? Because this is the biology. It's the idea about making sure we send a signal which is not just a coincidence, but part of our brand.